our Director of Scouting. Craig Smith is in studio. Mike Morreale of the Ticats radio crew, of Ticats fame, and also the commissioner of the CEBL. I'm going to ask you that question next, basketball, Mike, but right now, how much is 1998 being talked about in Hamilton with your guys leading the division at 5-1 and ending the drought?
Yeah, it's been talked about a lot. When they were 3-0, they were going back to, I think, first time since '99 that they were 3-0. Then the chance to go 4-0, which would have been the first time since '89. So both these seasons that the Cats went to, well, everybody remembers '89 here, obviously.
Yep.
Went to the Grey Cup, and so there's a lot of that. Now, the wind came out of the sails a little bit, obviously, with Mazzoli getting hurt. But they've come out, 5-1 is a great position to be in to start. It really sets you up down the stretch. They've got the 3 wins against the Western opponents, which is huge. So there's still a lot of life in what's going on there, and there's still quality personnel. But it's going to be a bit of a different change of mindset without Mazzoli in the pocket.
For sure. And it's unfortunate that it's season ending right out of the gate. They knew it that night. But actually, I assume you read the game notes. It says the last 2 times the Ticats were 5-1 were '99 when you won the Grey Cup, and '89 when they. So it's a pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It's a pretty good omen. Yeah, absolutely. And before the basketball, Smitty, tell our viewers your history with the Hamilton Tiger Cats and who was in charge when you were there.
Well, it's funny. The first time I ever went to Ivor Wynne was for my interview, and I got interviewed. It was like a 4-hour interview with David Sauvé, Ronnie, and Greg Marshall. So I went in there and I got the position, director of player personnel. It was tough, I'll tell you. I had a tough time in Hamilton. We obviously, you were there, and we didn't have. Danny was at the end of his career, and then we struggled with quarterbacking, and you know what happens when that happens. And we had a lot of good quality people. I mean, this guy and Hitchcock, and we had some good players, but we struggled. But I had I loved Hamilton. I kind of wished I didn't sell my house. Because we had a great house up on the mountain, and it was a great place. And the best thing about there were 2 guys that I used to go to coffee with every day, and you know these guys, Ronnie and Bernie Custis. And I'll never forget, Ronnie came into my office. It was probably about a week into the job, and he said, "Come on, we're going." "What are you talking about?" He says, "We're going for coffee. Bernie's coming too." Okay, so we went to this place called Rankin's, a good plug for Rankin's in Hamilton, and it was like until Ronnie passed away, we essentially were there not every day, but a great deal. And I saw Ron on the Friday before he passed away. We were at Rankin's, and he had radiation and he had no hair. He had the Gilligan hat on, and he said to me, "I'm not looking forward to this chemo." I said, "You know what? My wife went through it. She got through it. You're going to be fine." And he says, "You know what? I'm not." And unfortunately, he passed away the next week, and it was a heart deal. It wasn't, anything with regards to the cancer.
Well, you mentioned Ronnie. You talk about Hamilton icons. I remember when he passed in 2008, September 2008. Yeah. Wally Buono saying he doesn't just belong to Saskatchewan. He belongs to the CFL. And I didn't initially accept that, but then I kind of got talking to my Hamilton friends. Oh, yeah, he's an icon there, too. And the funniest story is Mark Mueller, who's now on the staff of the Stampeders. Larry and Lana used to fly Mark out to spend the summer with Grandpa with the Ticats, and he'd come back 37 pounds heavier because all he ate was donuts in the morning because Ronnie was bringing him. Do you remember him running around, Mike?
Absolutely. It was like mini-me. Ron would stand at midfield, and Mark would be beside him, standing exactly the same way, arms crossed. Yeah. I just saw Mark a couple weeks ago when the Stamps came to town in Hamilton. We were laughing about that same thing. He's done a tremendous job, too. I mean, that family, the extended family of, really, like you said, they mean a lot to the CFL.
Well, was there ever any doubt that Mark Mueller would be a success in this league and will go on to write his own ticket, I think, at whatever he wants because he's that smart a guy and has that kind of upbringing. But we got to get to the basketball. I've been teasing it for quite a while. Mike Morreale is the commissioner of the Canadian Elite Basketball League. And when I heard you were the commissioner, I thought, is that the same Mike Morreale? Because there's one that writes for NHL.com. Yes. You probably know that. I get it confused all the time. No, it's you. And the league is really cool. It's being run by, in my opinion, tell me if I'm wrong, a lot of former CFL guys. Yourself, Lee Genier in Saskatoon, Kurt Emerson, super dude down there in Hamilton. Tell our viewers, if they don't know yet, what they need to know about the CEBL.
Yeah, so the CEBL, the Canadian Elite Basketball League, it was born out of a desire to provide and showcase the top Canadian basketball talent in this country. And when you look at Canada and the emerging talent, you just have to look at the NBA. We are second behind the U.S. in terms of number of athletes from a specific country. We had 5 more go in this year, a bunch more free agents that'll go. We have over 200 players that play internationally. So we wanted to look at a way to showcase the talent that's already existing and then show the development of talent beneath it. And that includes not only players, but support staff, trainers, executives, coaches, officials. So we partnered up with the Canada Basketball. It was the first time ever in their history that they have named an official partner for a men's Division I professional league. We're very proud of that. We've gone out and secured other partnerships. And really, it's about if there's a will, there's a way. And we, from a little office in Thorold, we've now started a league that goes in 4 provinces from BC through to Ontario with plans to grow even further up to 12 teams over the next few years. We've got some expansion plans already. Play a FIBA-style game, very fast, very exciting, high scoring, and the athletes we have on the court are darn good.
Well, I didn't tell you this, but my wife was a basketball player. My daughter played college basketball. So when we went to the last Rattlers game, she came with me, and I said, okay, you tell me, because I'm a hockey and football guy. Does this pass the test? She's like, oh, yeah, this is great ball. Yeah. Of course, I just want to see the 6'10", 6'11" skyscrapers, right? And they have those. And they have those. So that's pretty cool. Smitty, you got to jump in with me sometime and head up there to a game. Or have you been to one yet?
I haven't. Actually, Mike sent me he was going to give me tickets, but at that time I couldn't travel. So absolutely, I would love to do it. I love basketball. I've been to the Final Four down in Seattle in the Kingdom, and I've been to West Regionals. I love basketball. I played high school basketball. I wasn't all that great, but still, I would love to do that.
Well, if you played the sport, you have an idea of the rules, which certainly helps you watching the game. It helps your game experience. But Arlene writing in from Saskatoon, she says, we have Rattlers season tickets, have not been disappointed. Join us at the game this Friday. And I've said that it is a mini NBA feel. And I think that they would love to have 15,000 in SaskTel Center. They'd love to have 15,000 in what I call Cops Coliseum. What are you guys calling it now? First Ontario Center.
Yeah.
But that's the dream, right? Do you think you could... Actually, who told me? They want it to be like a basketball version of the CFL, Canada's league.
That's essentially
what
we've done. So what we've done is we've taken the best of certain sports, and we've, from a governance perspective, we modeled ourselves after the MLS, Major League Soccer, and WNBA. So the CBL is owned by one entity that owns all the teams. And the reason we did that was to raise the bar, create the brand identities, make sure that everybody follows the same rules and guidelines, and start at a high level. And since then, we've gained a lot of exposure. I field a lot of calls from a lot of interested parties. There will be expansion, most likely next year, which will expand to 7 teams into another province as well. So we're excited about that. But and then we looked at, what about basketball is exciting? Obviously, the fast-paced game went with FIBA rules, which is 10-minute quarters versus 12. It's less timeouts. It's a lot more action. It's up and down the court. You can play the ball off the rim. And we don't expect to be the CFL in certain respects. We know our place. We want to get in those kind of, SaskTel Center is a little bit different, so is First Ontario, but most of our venues are in that 5,000 to 8,000 range. So you can get 3,000 people in there to start, and it looks and feels really good. The idea is to grow exponentially year over year. And what I always tell people is, my staff especially, we started this league from an office in Thorold, Ontario. People probably don't know where that is. It's in Niagara Falls area.
Yeah, I did.
There you go. And with no local ownership, no real local connections or ties other than some individuals that have spent Lee spent a lot of time obviously in Saskatoon, but he's a Calgary guy, and we've been successful. So once we start getting those local partners and we get the local businesses and we start drumming up more interest in what we're doing, it's going to be great. But the fans that go, and Arlene and all those that show up, I'm glad they're excited about it and they love the presentation, because we put a lot of effort into making it not only basketball but the whole entertainment package, nonstop music, excitement, dance teams, and just to just to get everything going.
Well, I love when people come in and ask me the questions about this show that you have this morning. How's it growing? What's it doing? Like, we have a guy, Tom from Winnipeg, watching this morning. He goes, would you consider Winnipeg? Here it is Winnipeg on the radar for future expansion? We had the International Basketball Association and World Basketball League, North American Basketball Association in the past. So the point about this show is it's global, right, which is great, which I know the CFL loves because we're going into new CFL markets over there. But Winnipeg, Regina, Calgary, what are the chances of expanding there?
Certainly Winnipeg is high on the list, as is Ottawa, as is Calgary, as is another team in BC, another team, in one or two teams in Quebec, out east at some point. The issue with out east is, especially a place like Halifax, there's so much going on. There's only so much money to be spent. We don't know what's happening with the CFL, of course. That's a whole other, probably don't have enough time to have that discussion. But it really is about growing smart and methodically. So all those areas that we're in now and we want to grow, we want to make sure that we go to places that can support us, that have the venues in place, that have businesses that can rally around what we're doing, and basketball fans. And the Raptors run was tremendous. The Raptors run hurt us tremendously at the gate this year, but the effects of that 20 years from now or next year or the year after are.
Everybody wants to play basketball.
You could not pay for that type of advertising.
Yeah. Well, it was like when the Riders in the heyday, the decade of decadence here, all the kids were playing football, same thing. Now the Rush, you must have heard about the Rush, absolutely, and what's selling out every game, 15,000. Everybody's playing lacrosse. So it's the same thing. Lane writes in, I'm not sure where Lane is, but Lane says, can we get an explanation of the championship weekend format? Is it like a Final Four type? You have the T-shirt on, so you should explain that.
Today, yes. So Championship Weekend, we decided this year is going to be hosted by Saskatoon, which was a pretty easy choice. I mean, based on how they've rallied around the team so far and what they've done, for the Rush and for other major events in town. So the format is similar to Final Four, but it does have a Memorial Cup style as well because the Rattlers are given a berth into it. Now they'll be positioned based on how they finish. Right now they're in third. So regardless if they were in fifth or sixth, they still would have got it. Thankfully, they're in third and they're not at the bottom of the heap. But the idea was to be smart in how we did it. It'll be a single elimination. It's going to be very much like a mini Grey Cup festival. So Thursday will be our awards gala. Friday will be our street party, which we're bringing in some bands and DJs, closing down the streets, basketball tournaments. Saturday is the doubleheader semifinals at SaskTel Center, followed by another festival event downtown at night, and then Sunday is the championship game, with a pregame tailgate, and then a party after with the winning team. So we've taken, like I said, you don't have to rewrite things. You just got to take what's good out there and you kind of make it your own. The Grey Cup is obviously very successful. I've been to them as a player, as a fan, and to do what we're doing makes a lot of sense because you can imagine you have a new team and new leagues, and they go through the regular season, and all of a sudden they make the playoffs, and you have a week to sell 3 or 4 or 5 games. That doesn't make sense. So it's impossible. It's impossible. It does not make sense whatsoever. So this allows us for a really exciting winner-takes-all type event, and it's going to be fun, not just basketball, but the festival itself.
Producer Clark writing in says, what are the dates for that? It's very easy for me to remember, August 23rd, 24th, 25th, because unfortunately...
Yes, you're at
same weekend as Touchdown Atlantic. Hey, there's only so many weekends to go around, but I know not everybody from Saskatchewan's going out to Moncton like I am, so go to Saskatoon for the weekend. When's the last time you were there, by the way?
I was there about a month or so ago. I'll be there tomorrow.
Did you see the huge 4-story
I haven't seen it in person yet, but it is massive.
It's massive, downtown Saskatoon. Everybody in Saskatoon knows that this tournament is on. So, I think we'll move on from the basketball talk, but I'll tell you, you're the perfect pitch man, perfect commissioner for the league, Mike, and I would think that you got all the questions answered today for our viewers, except for Smitty's. He says he's got one here.
Well, one thing I'd like to say is, us Canadians, a lot of times we don't have a good look with regards to the athletes that are in Canada. And I don't know if you've ever watched Canadian college basketball, but there's some damn great athletes.
Really good,
And this would be a real good showcase for our Canadian athletes. It would be something to see.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.